Good morning, folks. Mr. Overdorf here. Today we're going to talk about mowing, watering, turf care, and fertilizing. Since the beginning of the school year, we'll have you guys out on the zero-turn mowers here pretty soon, learning how to weed eat as well and do a bunch of stuff all around campus. So let's talk a little bit about all the stuff that goes into that, not just the cutting portion of it. So our main idea here is what standard maintenance procedures are necessary to keep turf grasses in healthy condition. There's a lot of thought and different processes behind this, and I would love to talk to you about any of those once you guys are in class. We're going to go over some different stuff here. So to get a good start, you want to plant your grass with a grass that's adapted to your area. So in Pennsylvania here, we typically plant cool season grasses. So what you guys are currently seeing outside here in August is a lot of brownouts, and that's not because the grass is dead, that's because the grass is dormant. So you want to work with a natural growth pattern. So a lot of people think that grass just grows straight up. It doesn't. So what grass actually does is it grows in the direction of the sun. So if you have a lot of sun coming from the south, your blades of grass are actually going to point more in that direction. And healthy turf is going to choke out weeds. So the better you take care of your lawn through cutting, fertilizing, trimming, any of that stuff, that's actually going to help your lawn out a lot more, and it's going to get rid of a lot of those weeds. So when you guys are on campus, we're going to be outside identifying some of those weeds, and we'll keep going from there. So some of the essentials to having good turf include liming, fertilizing, mowing, of course, watering, and those are your main four that you want to worry about. So a lot of the lawns you see browned out right now, especially in this year, 2020, where we haven't received a lot of rain this summer. You're seeing a ton of brownouts because the grass is currently dormant because it hasn't received enough water and it's gotten way too hot. So let's go back to lime. Why are we adding lime? Because best turf growth is at a pH 6.0 to 8.0. So if you're under 6.0, your turf is considered to be more acidic, and if you're above 8.0, it's considered to be more alkaline. So we're going to get into those terms later once we get into soil sciences and all that good stuff. So pH and nutrient needs determined from a soil test. We'll be in here doing all that stuff, and that's actually part of your NOCTI test. That's hugely important. Improve soil permeability and structure, better nutrient uptake. What you guys will find out in here is when we're mowing outside, we actually don't pick up any of our clippings. We span them out evenly over the entire surface because all those clippings are actually adding nutrients back into the soil, providing for better turf. So for our liming application, that's going to be applied with a calibrated spreader. We have one here on campus that I'm going to show you folks. It's best to do these in late fall and early spring. If you do it in the summer, you're not really adding anything to the ground because it's kind of just being burned off by the sun. You want to apply to dry grass. Anytime you use a spreader, you always want to apply to a dry surface. You don't want to do it right after a rain or during a rain. A lot of the stuff that mixes into your mixtures actually will become active inside the spreader and won't be as effective on the ground. So why fertilize? This improves turf health, color, and weed control. So one of the things you have to be cautious of is putting on too much fertilizer. If you put on too much fertilizer, it's going to really kick up the nitrogen inside the grass, and it's going to end up killing the grass off over time. Better winter survival, disease and insect resistance. If you fertilize your lawn 3 to 4 times a year, typically your insects are going to be pretty much non-existent. The big thing in our industry right now is tick applications because ticks have become a really large nuisance in Pennsylvania and surrounding states. So it's always a good idea to do a tick application. And whenever you're out talking to your customers, you'll want to do that as well. Better able to handle stress. If you have a good fertilizing program, typically the only thing you have to worry about is your lawn looking burnt out. So Even if it looks burnt out right now, that grass will come back in the spring, or in the fall. The only thing you have to worry about is making sure you don't put up too much. And if you start seeing bare ground, that's whenever your seed has died off and you'll have to replant. So when do you want to fertilize? So you want to incorporate fertilizer into the soil before planting or layering new sod. So if we're putting sod down, which is just large pieces of grass that you lay right over top of the dirt and stomp in, you want to make sure you fertilize beforehand. And if you already have maintained grass, if you already have good grass growing, you're just going to do a top dressing that's establishing turf a minimum of twice annually. I highly recommend people do 3 to 4 applications. There's even some companies out there now that'll do 5 and 6. Anything over 4 is overkill, so I would recommend just going with 4 standard applications. So, fertilize by grass type. We have cool season grasses. Those are early fall and early spring. They're dormant in hot weather, which you're kind of seeing right now. You have warm season grasses. These are very early spring and midsummer, and they keep growing when hot. So the more south you go, the more you're going to see warm season grasses. So a grass you'll see up here like Kentucky bluegrass, you won't see down in south in Florida, but you won't see in St. Augustine up here like you would down in Florida. So we're going to go over those grass types here in the classroom. Just a few tips on fertilizer. Should be high in nitrogen, moderate phosphate, and potash. At least half the nitrogen should be slow release. If you pound nitrogen onto your grass and let it all go out at once, you'll probably end up with dead grass. Nitrogen is great for getting that grass to grow, but you want to make sure that you have a slow release in there as well, and that's created by the company that's producing it to slow release into the ground over time. Rates vary by conditions. One of the things I can't stress enough in this class or anything you do outside of here is always read the label on everything. It's safety 101. And spreader should work evenly and well calibrated. So the best way to keep a good sprayer is to clean it continuously. If you're out working for 8 hours in one day, pushing a spreader around, it definitely needs cleaned by the end of the day, maybe even halfway through the day, depending on the weather. So always apply in dry weather. And like I said, grass must be dry if you want to have a good even spread over top. I know some companies go out and do it anytime, but it just is not as effective. Mowing's critical. So turf health suffers if grass is cut too short. So we don't want to cut our grass here on campus or anybody's yard less than 3 inches, in my opinion. I know some companies that will cut it lower to 2.5, even 2 inches, but that's when you really start seeing grass brown out. So the best length is 1.5 to 2.5 inches. I disagree with that. I think 3 inches should be the standard for everybody. But when you're working for a lawn care company or if you have your own, customers tend to want to cut their grass shorter because they don't want you to cut as often because they want to save money. So go with what your customer wants, but always say, hey, I think we should have this at about 3 inches. Keep mowing as it keeps growing. A lot of companies, this is something else I have some slight disagreements with. So if you're going to keep mowing, make sure the grass is growing, but make sure the grass grows if you're going to mow it. A lot of companies this year have received a lot of complaints because they're going out and cutting bare grass. So it's grass that hasn't grown more than 1/8 of an inch in a week. So people are paying $30 to $100 a week to get their grass cut. And I know the companies want to make that money, but you need to make sure you're keeping your customer happy too. Never allow seed heads to form. We're going to take a look at some seed heads here in class. So seed heads are whenever you start seeing the fantails on top of the grass, they kind of look like they're sputtering out. But we're going to take more in-depth look here in the classroom. And you want to keep your blade sharp. If you don't keep your blade sharp, you kind of see, especially in this picture over here, you see like these weird brown tips on the end. That's from not keeping your blade sharp. If you have really sharp, good blades, you'll only see the top of that green grass. So when do you water? So irrigation is needed if you receive less than 40 inches of rain a year. So This might be one of those years where everybody should have had an irrigation system. Irrigation systems are typically not used frequently by homeowners in Pennsylvania, but you'll see them more around businesses that don't want to go out and actively water their grass. Water needs are affected by weather, soil, types of grass, health of turf, and there's a million different factors into why you should or should not water. You want to water during persistent drought. A lot of people that don't water right now are seeing a lot of brown grass because of that hot weather we're having. And then how to water. You want to water either in the early morning or in the evening. So some of the downfalls of this is if you water in the evening, sometimes you may come across mushrooms in your yard in the morning. So typically I prefer mornings, but whenever the weather is cool and there's not a lot of sun, because if you have sun, you're going to burn your grass up. You want that soil wet to about 6 inches deep. So I recommend probably about an hour or two worth of watering to get that soil really drenched. Now, if it's raining on and off, don't water, because if you are watering, then you might have some problems. It's best to water deeply and less often. Overwatering can be harmful, just like I was saying. So if you're getting a lot of rainstorms, take a break from watering yourself, because you don't want to drown your yard. All right, folks, so that is the end of this PowerPoint. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to send me an email at dano@fordpro.com. You can also reach me here in the classroom at 412-373-8100, extension 293, or you can contact me through Canvas. Other than that, I'll see you folks online and in the classroom, and I hope you have a great day.